What's up, everybody? It's Heidi Fang here, your Vegas Nation podcast host, and I'm going to be here with you in the Vegas Nation fan zone. Happy to be joining you here on this Tuesday, January 19th. And we had last week around this time a lot of news about Gus Bradley, and I had put out there a tweet asking for Raider Nation's take on Gus Bradley, the hire, the defensive coordinator. So right now, I actually don't have any questions. So if you want to send me some questions here in the YouTube chat or on the Fan Zone Facebook page or anywhere else that you find me, please go for it. I'm happy to be here with you and answer all the questions that you have and do my best that I can at that. So I'll get started here just reading off some of the things that people had sent me about Gus Bradley, the new defensive coordinator hire for the Raiders. I think it's pretty exciting, first of all, just to give you my take on it. I think that they definitely needed this upgrade. I know a lot of fans were clamoring for it after the Patriots went for about 200 yards on the ground against the Raiders D, that something needed to be done. And I think that Gus Bradley is a great start. He's taken talent from Melvin Ingram to Joey Bosa, and then you look at the Jags, who started with him, Yannick Ngakoue. So I think it's a really good place for defensive ends, defensive tackles, and then you think Legion of Boom. Hello, what he did with the Seattle Seahawks back 2010 and how he built that defense to be as feared as it was. This man has nothing but a bag full of tricks that I think we're going to see with the Raiders and a new look coming in 2021 with him. So that's my take. I'm going to read some of the fans' take as we get going here. And I'm also going to open up, before I start that, the YouTube chat. That way I can see anything that's incoming here with you guys. And like I said, always happy to answer anything from the fans as you guys look over what we've got here and all the things happening. So I'll get that page open because my internet doesn't want to cooperate there right now. But there we go. Let's read some of these things about Gus Bradley, the new hire, DC for the Raiders. Unknown Weebay78. He's one of my favorite guys here on Twitter. He's always in communication, always talking with me. Appreciate that. Always willing to put his opinions out there on the record. He says it's not the exciting pick, and that's in quotation marks, but he has a good track record to picking talent. Hopefully, he can simplify the defense and utilize the talent that we have and new talent we pick up via free agency in the draft. Too early to tell how things will turn out, though. Just hoping for an average defense at worst. And here's the thing with Gus Bradley. If you look over, I think probably 4 out of 5 of the last seasons, and I'm just going off the top of my head here, I don't have it in front of me, but 4 of the 5 last seasons, I want to say, he has finished in the upper half of the NFL when it comes to run defense. And that's something that I think is going to be really huge for these teams, for this Raiders team, if he can get that going with them, because there is a ton of talent and the Raiders have obviously invested in a younger defense. So in some ways, he has a little bit of a fresh slate. You look at what he has with Clelin Ferrell, you look at what he has with Max Crosby. There's still time to teach these guys his system because they've only been in Gunther's system, 2 years-ish. So it's a time for him to really take it, wipe the slate clean, and start over with some young talent. I think that's a good thing for the Raiders to have so many young players. I think sometimes when you look at defenses, you want to see a veteran presence in that core of it, the guy who's wearing the green dot, which at times was Nick Kwiatkowski this year as a linebacker. But I think that generally when you look over who's going to be that leader, who's going to be the guy with the green dot, who's going to be the guy calling these plays, you want somebody who can command them. And normally it's a veteran of the game. But in this case, there's a lot of young talent here. I like Nick Kwiatkowski. I think that he's going to be a great asset for the Raiders going forward. So I think he'll continue to wear that green dot. But it's just an interesting thing that came up when you start thinking about the new talent that Weebay here says on Weebay 78 to be exact on his tweet. So hi Sean, 808 Oahu Raider, 808 Oahu Raider. He says it's an upgrade. And he doesn't seem stubborn to force fit players to schemes. Multiple Ds, what we need. Been a long time since we've forced offenses into confusion pre-snap. At the end of the day, he needs talent on the front seven. We don't have what he needs yet. I think defensive tackle will be a spot of focus during the draft. I think that's where definitely you're going to start seeing more people as far as newcomers into the Raiders plans for defense. I think that's where we're going to see a lot of focus is the defensive tackle slot. I know Gruden likes those big front four up there. So I think we're going to see him look for guys. There's a ton of free agents. And if you guys want to check out Sam Gordon and I's new video series that we're starting, the first one just dropped. We focused on defensive tackles and defensive ends. And good news, that's been greenlit for a podcast. So I had to cut down the video. We had about, I want to say 13 to 14 minutes worth of conversation. I cut it down to about 6 minutes. So I felt like, hey, that didn't do our conversation justice. So I asked, can we make a podcast? And I was told by a big man in charge over at the Review Journal that I can make it a podcast. So we're going to do that as the defensive positions wrap up. I'm going to post a new podcast about that. So good news drop in here on the Fan Zone. I want to go back to YouTube and see too if there's anybody here that wants to chat, because I couldn't get it up earlier. I still have a ton more tweets, but I really want to check out this videos right here and see if anybody's chatting with me. There's 2 people watching. Yay! I'll continue on here reading, and maybe we'll get some more people to check it out later. All right, so Juan Moreno says, IMO, the best coaches in any sport are those that can adjust their schemes to the players. You should never force players into roles not suited to them. You won't put them in positions for success. We are lucky we have never seen this on the Raiders. Circled name, LaMarcus Joyner, cornerback. And I think that also becomes a question, because you've seen LaMarcus Joyner at safety, you've seen LaMarcus Joyner at slot corner. He's been moved around a lot, and he had a lot of success previously in other positions. So I think that's a great point that he makes here, that you need to look at how LaMarcus Joyner can fit in right with the team. So I remember at the time when they was brought in, I thought, wow, that's a great pickup here for the Raiders. But I think generally you want to see somebody put into a position that works well for them. So good point there. LV Raider Marcus says, needs 4 quarters of relentless effort with the capital R, capital E. The upside of Gunther, this guy will have guys in positions to make plays. Need to upgrade the defensive roster. So yeah, I think the secondary, again, I talked about some young players, but I think when you look at the secondary, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. There were a lot of holes in big coverage situations, deep pass situations, where the Raiders, frankly, just got burnt. I can't think of another way to put that out there. So definitely need to get people that are in place to be able to make those plays. So having the right play calling scheme available to them. But in other terms as well, you do need to upgrade there. You need to look at the safety position. You need to look at the cornerbacks and say, do we have the right guys out there on the field at all times? There's a lot of Raiders that struggle to stay healthy, especially on the defensive side of the ball this season. So COVID is a main concern. That's something that you're going to have to see how this plays out in the coming year. The vaccine is starting to get underway, but is that going to be enough to keep everybody healthy? There's just logistically, fundamentally, things I think Damon Arnett needs to work on and tackling that can help him to stay healthy instead of leading in with his head and shoulders a lot of the time. That was how he got injured a couple times during the season. So good points there. Tony Fatso, marginally better choice than Gunther. Retread with some success and failures. Without an influx of real talent in the starting defensive roster, we shouldn't expect different results. He gets the benefit of the doubt treatment right now. Trepidation. I like it. Tom Jones. I'm good with it. It's what I thought would happen. Fair enough. Rick Johnson says, I want to see the staff he builds around it. I am guessing some will stay and some will go. Before I say for sure, it's not the worst hiring we could have done to start with. So yeah, you're already starting to see some of the people that are coming in on the staff here. So we know Marinelli will stay in place, but there are going to be some other folks that are coming in. Oh, wait, I have some questions here from Raiders for Life. So do you think John Gruden needs help at offensive coordinator position? Because I really feel like Hugh Jackson will be a great OC to Derek Carr for creativity when plays break down and we can't figure it out inside the red zone. I think Greg Olson is still a good choice right there. I think the offense did well. I think there were some things that you can open up. Definitely, they started to open up with some of the deeper passes that we saw, especially on those routes to Nelson Aguilar. I think as you start to get Ruggs more adjusted to route running, and as well as with Brian Edwards, who was injured for most of the time, but we saw him start to kind of come on in a surge towards the end of the season. I think that you'll start to see more creativity using these guys' skill sets in play as the season progresses, as they progress, as they learn. Because you have to remember, you have two rookies there. Hunter Renfrow is a great leader who's the longest tenured wide receiver on the Raiders right now, which is funny when you think about it. Hunter Renfrow, they know how to use him. They know where he's effective. He's great in the slot. You look at a guy like Ruggs. They ran a lot of reversals with him. They didn't use him to really stretch the field except for a few times in the season. And the couple times that they did try, he missed the spot or he wasn't on the route. So there's things I think you need to work on a lot with Ruggs to get him to be that guy. Nelson Aguilar is somebody, if they keep him, he's going to continue to show us hopefully what he did in the past season, because in previous season this was like his best season on record in the NFL when you have to look at the body of work that Nelson Aguilar had. He didn't have as many drops. That was huge. He had a ton of drops if you go back to his days before everybody remembers catching the baby. So Raiders were like, bring back beast mode. I am Josh Jacobs would be the perfect complement, 1-2 punch. Money Lynch, come back to Vegas, no state tax, need a real backup to carry the team. Well, he still does have his store here in Town Center, if that's still open because of the pandemic shutting everything down. I haven't checked in on it in a while, but I go strolling with my son. We'd take a little ride through the town center here. That's on my end of town, and that's where you can find the Beast Mode store. All of Marshawn Lynch's stuff is in there, and it was right down by the Raider image. So there's one whole wing of the town center dedicated to the Raiders. And Money Lynch, I mean, yeah, that's why I thought in this draft that the Raiders might have gone with somebody like AJ Dillon. He was so great at being one of those bulldozer backs that can just come up the middle on the goal line. And I thought that was going to be what the Raiders look for in the draft, but they didn't go to that position. I mean, for what it's worth, Devontae Booker was really good for coming in to give spells to Josh Jacobs and obviously filling in when Jacobs was hurt at times. So I like what they had done there. Ooh, DC had a good year, but he had 11 fumbles. He's 7-year vet. As Raider fans, is this just something we need to get used to? No, you shouldn't have to get used to that. I remember watching in the Falcons game and thinking, wow, it's one thing to get hit from your blind side and you just don't see it coming, the ball comes out on a sack. But he had, I think, at the time, I want to say in the top 5 of most fumbles by a quarterback when being sacked. And that's something that at this point he should really get a handle on. I never played quarterback, obviously, so I can't say, well, that's not really true if you count my turkey bowls that I've had with my family, but or any of the schoolyard times I played football, but that was just schoolyard and I was a kid. Anyhow, they never let me play quarterback. I did get to play wide receiver, and I got to play some cornerback as well. But that's beside the point. So when we look here at okay, DC, they choose me number 1 in fumbles. Yeah, so it's not something that you want to see. Ball security is obviously a main focus of concern and something that these Raiders need to look at. So definitely have to have Derek Carr hold on to the football, ball security. The points off turnovers were ridiculous in that game. And Raiders for Life says, I feel like Mariota should have been in all red zone packages, and we should have fired Gunther after going 6-3, but that's hindsight 2020. And so my last question I will get to here, because I've been given the wrap-up signal, is Ula, do you believe that Harris, the Alabama running back, might be a possibility for the Raiders? If not, what Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama players should they be looking for at this draft? And is all of the offensive tap returning? That's a lot of stuff. So I'll just go with the Alabama running back. I really don't think right now that the Raiders are going to be going into another running back in this draft. I think they continue with either maybe Booker or stay with somebody in the free agency, and hopefully that can work out for them in this coming 2021 season. Because I think Josh Jacobs, for what it's worth, he was great when he's healthy, but you got to keep a guy like him healthy, and you don't want to burn out your number one back too early by having him go 20 rushes or 20 carries a game per game throughout a 17-week season. So I think keeping him healthy is going to be great. Oh, there's a lot more questions. I'm so sorry, I have to leave. I'm getting the wrap. Gotta go. They gave me the wrap a couple minutes ago, guys. So I'll hopefully be back sometime soon. You can always hit me up on Twitter at Heidi Fang, and I'll always answer all your questions there. So thank you so much for participating. All of you that got in there with the questions, and we'll see what happens here coming up in the off season. Keep watching the videos on Vegas.com.